Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jorge from CasaRefine.com and today I have 3 thrift flip DIYs. Now before we get started, I have to say I have no idea what I'm doing today, but I have 3 ideas and I think we'll make it work. So let's go ahead and get started. So for the first DIY, I want to create a candlestick holder, and I found this really cool candlestick holder at the thrift store, and it's honestly pretty cool, but it's just not it for me. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is reuse this candlestick part. I was originally gonna cut it off, but turns out it comes off really easily. So let me just share what's on my mind. So we have the candle part that I'm reusing, which is kind of like this, and of course we have our taper candle. So I'm thinking of maybe creating like a cone or something like this, and I think that would look really sexy and really emphasize sort of that taper of the candle. So I'm thinking of maybe using some concrete because, as you know, last week I created a table and I'm kind of obsessed with concrete now that I'm using it. So let's go ahead and get started with this. The first thing I did was remove the candle holders from that wooden tray thing, and I'm also sanding them down just because I don't really like the existing finish. You might not be able to tell on camera, but they're a little bit too red. I'm also taking this weathered oak by Varathane just to get a more distressed look, and I'm honestly just using this shop towel and it just seems to be working fine. If we're being real here, I probably could have sanded these a little bit better, but once the stain dried, it looked pretty nifty. Now to create the concrete forms, I'm going to be using this poster board, and for this I'm applying some glue, and this will help it stay together in the center. And then I'm just going to roll it up into a slim cone, then I'm going to hold it together with some mailing tape. Next, my method to connect the candle holder to the cone is basically just cutting away the tip with some scissors up until the point where the candle holder will fit in nice and snug. In hindsight, this was not really a good idea because, well, it didn't really work, but you'll find out soon. Concrete does set pretty fast, so before I add it to the cone, I really have to make sure everything is ready to go for when that happens. I'm also going to add some tape here to the candle holders and really clamp it onto the cone. I think it's important that this part is really secure because this could potentially be a place where the concrete might leak through the bottom, so I want to make sure that it is nice and tight. And I went ahead and did that for all 3 of them. The next thing to figure out is how I'm going to stand these up and allow the concrete to cure over the next couple of days without them tipping over. So my solution for this is using these paper cups, turning them upside down and poking a hole through them. But as you can see, they still tip over. So that means I need to really secure the cups onto something. So I'm going to hot glue them onto this cardboard, and that will really help stabilize the cone. Once the cups were glued into place, I am now ready for the concrete. I'm using this concrete mix that I already had, but it has too much aggregate, so I'm kind of just filtering out the aggregate. And then I am going to add the water. And one thing about concrete, if you haven't worked with it before, is you kind of want like a pancake like batter. You don't want it soupy, and I'm just using this mixer that I had. And I always like to add the water in slowly just to make sure I don't overwater. Now I'm going to add the concrete mixture into the cones. Now personally I want variation in the heights of the candle holders, so I'm just adding different quantities to each cone, and then I'm kind of just like shaking it just to get all of those air bubbles out. So the cup situation actually did not work because when I was moving them to a safe location, they got all wobbly and stuff. So basically I just took them off and I put them here in this in a safe corner here where they won't be touched for like a day or two. And I stood them up straight and they're kind of supporting on this box right here. So I think they're going to be fine. Let's come back in 2 days and see what they look like. Okay, so it's been about 24 hours and I'm going to remove this just to see what it looks like. As it turns out, the candle holder fell apart, and I think it's because the wooden part really had nothing to grab onto. Clearly this DIY is a fail. Now, is it salvageable? I don't know. I'm going to brainstorm and then we'll circle back. While I thought of ways to make these work, I started sanding them down just to get them nice and smooth. Also working on the base just to make sure they are nice and even and will stand up straight. Then an idea hit me on how I could potentially salvage these candle holders, and that is through some wire. Now, I want to connect that wood to the cement, right? And so I was thinking, well, maybe with this wire I can loop it around tightly on both the wood and the cement and get a nice bond between the two. I think this is kind of a cool detail because it really brings those like raw elements together in a really cool way that I haven't seen. So I just wrapped it around both of the cement and the wood, and it kind of looked pretty cool in the end. You let me know down in the comments below. I still feel like this is a fail, but maybe this could be a cool piece to decorate a bookshelf or something. I don't see this as being strong enough to actually hold a candle, let alone light a candle with these, because that could be potentially dangerous. But I still think they're kind of cool looking. I totally don't blame you if you trash these down in the comments below, but for now, let's take a look at the final look. Okay, I almost did not include this one because, you know, it's basically a fail, but that's okay. That's real life. I wanted to include it just so that you're aware that, you know, things don't always go to plan. That's okay. I feel like these might have potential. I definitely would not use these as candle holders, like to actually light candles. Probably just for decor on a shelf or something. I think one thing that went wrong, the candle holder part did just not bond to the cement. But this is my second time working with cement. That's okay. I want to keep working with that material in the future, but I'm just gonna go ahead and pass on that one for now. For the second project, I found this really cool lamp. You might have seen this in a previous thrifting video. I fell in love with this lamp when I saw it. It's very simple, modern, minimal, mid-century vibes, and so I think this would be a great opportunity to give it sort of a makeover. Okay, so for this next DIY, you might have seen this lamp in a previous thrifting video, and I actually love it. The only thing I'm not really in love with is the metal color. It's kind of purpley. It just won't work for me. The other thing is this like wooden element right here. I really like it, but it's a little too orangey for me. So I'm going to start off and sand this puppy down, and then I'm going to try to spray paint this. This will honestly be a really easy one, so let's just go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm doing is getting rid of that yellowy orange stain with this heavy grit sandpaper. I'm following up with some lighter grit sandpaper to get it nice and smooth. I'm also going to go ahead and tape off the metal to prepare the wood for some stain. I'm going to be using the weathered oak stain again. I absolutely love it because it really brings in those neutral tones without bringing in the yellow undertones of the wood. and I'm going to apply 2 to 3 coats and let that dry fully before moving on to the next step. Once that dried fully, I moved forward to prep the lamp to be painted. I went ahead and taped off that wood because I don't want that painted, as well as other areas that I do not want painted, including the gables and then this part right here. And I'm going to be using my favorite black spray paint, which is this Ultra Matte by Rust-Oleum. It's my favorite because it's not too shiny, not too flat, it's the perfect sheen. And I'm going to give this lamp about 2 coats of spray paint, let that dry fully, and then honestly just add a new lampshade. That will instantly make this feel a lot better. I feel like this classic Empire style shade is the perfect fit for this lamp. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Alright, I love the way that this lamp turned out. As you can see it behind me, I think it's really nice. It's like minimal, mid-century vibes. I really like it. I will definitely be using this in my living room. So for the final thrift flip, I'm going to make over this coffee table. I was very excited when I saw this at the thrift store. One thing that I noticed immediately was its beautiful form and this detail right here. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I might have to fill it in. We'll see. I'm going to sand it down first. I'm not exactly sure how thick the veneer is because it's a combo of veneer and solid oak, I believe. So I'm going to sand it off. Hopefully it won't sand through the veneer. Worst case scenario, I'll just paint it. I'm starting out by sanding the table with 40 grit sandpaper using my orbital sander, which I love. It's been saving my life for the last couple of months. Probably my favorite thing I've bought this year so far. I could have chosen to use some deglosser or maybe some like wood stripper to remove that old finish, but in the end I just sanded my life away with this. Yes, it was a lot of work, but at the same time it was kind of satisfying. I'm also taking some time to vacuum up excess dust and making sure that I am sanding evenly throughout the table. I did take this outside just to get some better ventilation. Also, make sure that you wear proper safety equipment whenever you're sanding things like this. So after a million years of sanding, I went ahead and really just got it all sanded. There's just a couple spots I need to do in the morning, but for now I'm going to fill those lines because I actually kind of hate them. Like, it just doesn't really go with the table anymore. And I'm going to be using this Elmer's wood filler, and it is stainable. We'll see how close I can get with the color. I tried to use a putty knife to spread out the wood filler, but that really wasn't working out for me. So I ended up using my finger, and that worked a lot better. In the end, this will be sanded down again, and I want to make sure that I have plenty of wood filler throughout the gaps. Okay, so it is the next day and the wood filler seems to be dry, so let me actually show you. As you can see here, it's actually looking pretty good. Now, it's not the exact color tone as the wood, but honestly that's what I had on hand, and honestly I kind of like it. It's a nice detail. It doesn't look so noticeable as just like the black lines. It's kind of a nice detail, to be honest. And I'm just gonna go ahead and sand this down again, and then sand it down with lighter grit sandpaper. So I sanded the crap out of this thing, and I went up to 320 grit sandpaper, which I find to be great for furniture. I've come to the conclusion that this is probably red oak, which I'm not the biggest fan of due to its red undertones, and I really want my furniture piece to be light. And I've seen online a lot of people bleach their furniture, so I want to try the same. Of course, I am outside in a well ventilated area and I'm wearing my safety equipment. If you do this, don't wear your best clothes because you will stain it. And I applied a very nice generous coat evenly throughout the furniture piece. One thing that I found is that when it's in the sun it dries a lot faster, which is great because you can apply more coats. The more coats you add, the lighter it becomes, and I ended up applying about 3 coats of bleach. Alright you all, so I applied 2 coats of the bleach and I really like the way it looks. One thing I need to do is sand it down because the bleach brings out the grain. So I need to sand it down with fine sandpaper. I'll probably use like 320, work my way up to 320, and then I'm going to apply some finish. And of course you guessed it, I sanded in, sanded away. Now I finished off with using Osmo oil stain in a neutral finish. This is my favorite finish for oak. Now it is expensive, but it does a really great job of preserving the natural wood tone without really making it yellow. I ended up applying 2 coats. This is me applying the first coat. I probably will apply a third one after the video because I still want a little bit more of that white undertone, but it does a really great job and it feels like a really high quality finish. Check it out. I think it's looking pretty dang good. Now this does take a couple of days to dry, but with the magic of editing, let's take a look at the final result. You all, I love the way that this table turned out. I think it's so nice, refinished. I think it brought it back to its beauty. The line details on the top is actually kind of nice now. It doesn't scream like a basketball court, maybe a little bit, but I like that detail. I think filling it in was the right move. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a blast doing these DIYs. I feel like I learned so much from just doing these. Let me know down in the comments below which was your favorite. Also, be sure to subscribe for more DIY videos, home decors, and things like that. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye.